Welcome to Sound Values, powered in part by LSA Burger and Classic of Denton.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in live tonight with Sound Values here on DentonRadio.com. We are located out of the beautiful Discover Denton Welcome Center and the currently below freezing Denton Square, ladies and gentlemen. It is cold out there tonight, but we're nice and toasty here in the studio, and I've got a very, very awesome singer-songwriter in the studio with me tonight, Mr. Richard Gilbert. How you doing, sir?
Doing good.
Awesome.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, man. Glad to have you in here. It's been a long time coming, to be perfectly honest. But Richard, I'm gonna be honest too right now. I was always a little intimidated by you, around the scene and stuff.
Oh, really?
You were just one of those names that people said, and I was like, who is Richard? And then, but then I finally kind of got to meet you around and talk to you a little bit more, and I was like, this is like one of the nicest dudes I've talked to in the scene around here. So I just had to get that off my chest real quick that I used to be terrified of Richard Gilbert. All right, but not anymore. Even before I met you, or even saw you, I was just like, who is this guy, man? I just moved to town. I was a little nervous. I was like, oh man. So we have got you in the studio tonight. We're going to talk about your EP release. We've got an EP coming out. Thursday is when the EP is getting released, man. So the first thing that I want to talk about is, what's the EP called? What's the title?
Daybreak.
Daybreak.
Yeah.
Very, very cool, man. Very cool.
I got a little ribbon on that because my last EP was I Love the Night, and they thought I was going through different segments of the day, like the next one's going to be mid-afternoon or brunch or something like that.
Yeah, so, years down the line, mid-afternoon snack. Very cool. So, I mean, people kind of maybe gave you a little guff over that name, but what was kind of the idea behind the name Daybreak?
Well, I mean, that's of course, the title track. That's a song that I wrote. That's one of these sad breakup, not necessarily breakup, but just wondering what caused the breakup. Why did this happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we were kind of talking too about, like, before we went on air, we were kind of talking, sometimes it's hard to talk about, hey, where did a song come from?
Right.
Where does the inspiration come? But it sounds like on this title track, Daybreak, you kind of had an idea for it, of what it was going to be. Now, as a songwriter, and I think that this can be said, sometimes songwriters don't, actually, here, let me rephrase the question. Is every time you write a song about a personal experience, or are some of them just stories, kind of like a author is not always going to write about personal experiences, but just wants to write a story to connect with the audience?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure, like we were talking about earlier, some of the songs might, or lyrics might come from something in my past subconsciously. I reflect on a lot of things, but like Home on the EP is a traveling song, and it's like you're coming back home after being gone for a long time. So it's just kind of, a lot of my songs relate to love, loss of love, travel, things like that.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the time, no matter what genre you're in, I feel like music, we all kind of express the same thing, but in a different format,
right.
A different medium as far as music goes. When I sit down to work on a song, a lot of the time I'm writing about the same stuff. I very rarely have words in my music. It's mostly instrumental, so I'm trying to get the message across with just the sounds of the instrument. And so when you are sitting down and you're gonna write something about where you're traveling, or you're because you said you reflect on a lot of things. Are there certain places, or we don't have to say anybody's names, but or people that kind of come to mind more often? Are there places that give you, or people that give you that inspiration to sit down and write a song?
Yeah, I think places more than people. I mean, I kind of observe, not in a creepy way, people
watching.
So yeah,
yeah,
so you'll see a couple, and you can see that there's an uneasiness going on. So you kind of, in your mind, you're putting a story behind it, and you're trying to create something from what you're seeing. Or, but a lot of the traveling. I lived in New Mexico for 5 years. I've lived in a few places here in Texas. I've got to travel overseas a couple of times. So a lot of that's where I draw my inspiration for some of those songs.
And so how long have you been playing and writing music?
Since I was, God, I'm going to tell you how old I am.
We don't have to do that.
No,
Just
that's
the
cool.
music.
I don't have a problem with that. For probably 48 years, I was 14 when I got my first guitar. My father got me a 12-string airline of all things to start off with, which was interesting to learn how to play. And I didn't really start getting super serious with my writing until probably around 2002, 3,
Okay.
kind of there. I would write little things, but I would mainly sit there and play songs to my kids, for James Taylor or Gordon Lightfoot or something. I would play them songs. But as far as me getting serious and then getting super serious about my music career, probably around 2011 to 2013 is when I decided I really wanted to have fun and just see what happens,
Yeah, for sure. So what was kind of that push to say I want this to be, or you really wanted to push the music further?
I think it's just more of with me it was like what do I have to lose?
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm 62 years old. I'm having fun. I'm retired. I can travel. I love playing music. I love singing. So why not just have fun with it?
Yeah.
And sometimes you make a little money out of it. Sometimes you don't make any money out of it. But at the end of the day, you're doing what you love doing, and that's what it has. It used to be I'll admit, maybe early on it used to be almost like a competition, and I realized that it's not a competition. It's just we're all in this together. We're all having fun. I've got a lot of great musical friends.
Yeah.
And I thought just have fun and be happy for everybody else. Don't. That's one of the things it took me a couple of years, but over the last several years, I've realized that you just have fun with this and just have everybody else's back.
Absolutely. Now, if you've just tuned in, I want you to finish the end of the interview with me and then go back to what this man just said for about the last 3 minutes, because it was some of the most truthful, honest stuff that I've heard in a long time coming from somebody who's got a few more years on me in the music industry. I just love to hear that, man. Having fun, playing shows, doing what you love to do, whether you're going to make $1 or not. I have some kids who are a bit younger than me, and they've asked like, "Hey, how'd you do this? How'd you do this?" And I was like, "Guys, it's just time and patience and just loving what you do."
Right.
I sat down with a kid very recently he was like, "Yeah, I'm 22. I don't really know anybody here. I don't really know what I'm doing." He's like, "I saw you at LSA," and I was like, "How'd you do it?" So I gave him just like a few pointers, and I was like, the best thing that I can tell you to do is to just have fun.
Yeah.
Don't approach people, and if they say no, don't take it offensively.
Right.
Don't get upset because there's a million other people who've already approached them asking for probably the same
Right.
thing. So I love how you said, have fun, enjoy it, surround yourself with those great musical friends, and you'll just enjoy the whole process of doing that.
Well, and I think too that if you have fun with it, I was talking about getting paid and not getting paid, the money will come. Because if people like what they're hearing, you can get the gigs that pay.
Yep.
And fortunately in Denton, as of over the last maybe year or so, there are more and more venues that are paying venues.
Yeah.
Very few that I can't even name one right offhand that doesn't offer some kind of compensation for music.
Yeah, precisely. And even like I've had certain gigs where recently, but I didn't bother me at all. They're like, and I'll always ask. I'm like, "Hey, I don't care, but I'm just curious. Is this a paid gig or not?" And they're like, "Oh man, not this time, but next time." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And that was the other kind of bit of advice that I gave to that kid is I was like, play the free shows, play the paid shows, pay the shows in the dirty basements, play the shows on the big stages.
Do the open mics.
Yep.
Get the and that's one of the best ways to get a gig at a venue is do an open mic or two, let them hear you, and then approach them and say, "Hey,
yep, bring some friends in that like beer."
Right. Cheer you on.
Yeah, have 5 buddies show up and drink some beer for you. Great stuff. Okay, so now where is the EP release happening?
The EP release is happening at the Patterson-Appleton Arts Center, which is also known as Greater Denton Arts Council. It'll be on the second floor.
Okay.
It's very intimate. I think it holds around 80 people up there, and it's basically just going to be me doing the EP.
Okay.
So I'll have my little Bose tower, my guitar and mic, and I'll play 6 songs, and I'll also have some merchandise there: T-shirts, CDs, buttons, things like that.
Very cool.
And I'm hoping that I see a lot of familiar faces there.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
So this EP, is it just you on the EP? Are there any other instrumentalists? Anybody else playing, or is it?
Yeah,
what do we got going on?
That's a good question, because this is the first EP I've done where it is just me and the guitar.
Okay.
And it was just a couple of friends and some other people recommended that I just do bare bones, so to speak. I mean, I've had some great people work with me. I had Jesse Thompson work with me on I Love the Night and Melissa Ratley.
Okay.
I had Jesse Fry work with me on Faraway Girl. I had Michael Purser. I don't know if anybody knows him, but he's out of Arlington, violinist, work with me on the Run. And so this time I decided, okay, I'm going to just take the guitar and walk into the studio and lay out the tracks and that.
Sounds good. Now, how is that experience different when you're going in there by yourself compared to working with other individuals and other musicians?
Well, the process is a lot faster, of course. But normally when I lay down tracks, it's me and the guitar. Vocally and music at the same time. I'm one of these people that I'm not real comfortable doing the music and then doing the vocals.
Yeah,
I do them both together.
I was actually like that when I was playing guitar when I was younger too.
Yeah.
I didn't like doing them separately.
Yeah, and I've had some really good engineers that have been able to work with me and get the separation. So at this Cafe Solo studio here in Denton, Chris Howell, I went to him, and super laid back. He let me use his Gibson on about 4 of the songs, which was awesome. And we went in there, and within about 3 hours, we had it done.
Nice.
But that's one of the things that I get, like, I don't know, it's my work ethics or whatever it is, but I practice my songs a lot
obsessively
before I go into the studio.
Not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Sure many more studio engineers
even he said, a lot of people come in there, and not a lot of people, but some people come in there and they're not prepared. But what they don't understand is time is money.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah.
So like if you're getting charged by the hour, and not that you're trying to speed the process up and just do a really fast recording, but you just kind of want to be prepared so that I did make sure this time I did each song at least 2 or 3 times, because I wanted to make sure, because a lot of times I get in, I'll just say, how'd that sound? And the engineer will go, yeah, that sounded great. I said, okay, next song, play the next song, so I did want to take my time on this one a little bit, since it was just me, and make sure I liked everything.
Very cool. Well, that's awesome that you had some friends and other people kind of suggesting, hey, just go over there the guitar yourself, because that gives you an idea for kind of like what people are looking for, and also what people see in the music as well. Is maybe they're like, I think Richard would have a great album if he just did it all by himself, came out with it that way. Maybe that's what people are kind of looking for from the music, which, man, I think when I first started writing music, or trying to write music, when I was 16. Just like sitting in my room, my buddy had this like little red recorder thing, and it had like 3 or 4 inputs in it, and I had like no idea what I was doing. And I can still go and listen to it now on a MySpace account. I'm not going to say where that MySpace account is, but I can still go and listen to this stuff. And I can't believe I played that in front of people. But I remember one of my best friends in high school, I put it on and I didn't tell him it was me. And I remember just being like, what do you think of this? He was like, man, I don't really like it. Can we put on something else? and I was like, fair enough, and just switched it over to a different track. But just kind of the reason I'm saying that is it's very important for your friends, your family, and the fans to be honest and to let you know what they think can happen. Because, if they don't say that, then you're like, okay, now I'm going to do this. I'm going to have all these people in here.
That's the thing. You need to be able to take criticism. I mean, as a musician or any person that's going to be standing up on a stage doing something, as long as it's constructive, as long as it's in with good intentions, you need to be able to take that information and work on it. Like there's some songs people say, hey, if you just kind of slow that one down a little bit, it's a great. We like the song, but maybe if you slowed it down, so I'll try it, and they're right.
Yeah.
Slow it down a little bit, do the rhythm a little slower, and
Do you have specific people that you go to with your music? I've definitely got like my friends who I give it to them, and
of course my sons. I respect their input, both my sons. But my best friend Jessie Fry, she's definitely somebody who I have listened to songs and get her input on what I need to do.
Yeah, definitely not a bad person to have listening to your music.
Yeah, and it's I guess that's probably within that circle. Those three people that I really count on to be honest with me.
Very cool. I like that. That's that the sons. That's awesome. And of course to have Jessie on your side, that's never a bad thing. So you kind of talked, we briefly, you kind of said like you've been, New Mexico for 5 years, Texas, you've gone overseas. Were you playing music overseas?
Actually, in 2007, I had recorded this CD called Can't Stop the Rain in a guy's closet with a candle as the light to be able to see the lyrics. And it was so rough. And there was 10 songs on this CD, and it was as dark and sad as can be. And I burned like 100 CDs, and I made these little... Anyway, I put it all together. And I had a friend who lived in Holland, and I said, hey, can you get me a gig? And she said, yeah. So I took my guitar, and I took like 50 of the CDs in a little briefcase and went off to Holland and played at this little pub. And I think I might have played 30 minutes because the sound guy just didn't really know what he was doing. Plus, they were at the same time, they were having some huge party that they weren't supposed to have. So here's a guy doing acoustic music, and it's just like a rock band sound. But I ended up selling like 15 or 20 CDs at 10 euros a pop, and I'm going, okay, all right, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was hilarious, but it was fun. I had a good time doing it.
Yeah, that's cool. See, I always I use SoundCloud for a lot of my music, and you can click on there and see where is your music's the most popular. And there's just something I love about when I see like somebody in Russia or like you said Holland or Sweden or somewhere has listened to it. That's what's so cool is how much the music can spread now and can go all over the place. It's part of the beauty of the internet, is that people can do that. Now, kind of traveling around, like I said, I like to go back to kind of the inspiration question. And we said places. Are there specific places that kind of inspired your music more than others? Like specific spots that you remember, like, ooh, this place has got me wanting to write a song.
Right. I would say New Mexico more than anything. Because it's just beautiful there. I there's one lyric in one of my songs off of I Love the Night is lived a while in Santa Fe. Looking back, I should have stayed. And it's just, if I would have had my way, I probably would have still been in New Mexico.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah. My little brother lived in Santa Fe for a while, so I've been up there, and I completely agree with you.
Yeah,
it is beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Sunsets are amazing up there. So, no doubt. I've always gotten such inspiration from, strangely as it sounds, the weather. Like when the weather gets colder, I'm in a different mood of what I want to write. And when the summer comes, I'm like, let's write some peppy stuff,
Right.
Yeah,
that was a big issue with me. When I first started writing, I was writing a lot of sadder songs. And I actually was told by this one venue, this was probably in around 2004, 2003, they said, I asked if I could book another gig, because I'd played like 4 or 5 gigs there. They said, well, we can't book you anymore because your songs are too sad. And I said, really? And they said, yeah, I'm sorry. And I said, my oldest son says, yeah, Dad, you need to write some happy. So I started trying to, and it's easy to write sad songs. It's hard to write happy songs. So that's been my goal, is to try to at least have 2 to 3 happier songs on an EP or something.
What is that about music? Why is it so much easier to write sad songs?
Well, because we all go through stuff in our lives, whether it's a breakup or divorce or whatever loss of, something happens, lose a job, whatever. But we forget about all the happy stuff. But we like to hunker down on that sad stuff and just like.
Yeah, exactly. Music is always in a lot of art is just that expression of the human sadness and those sad experiences that we have. I think it is important to make sure that you've got some of the happier stuff. You
gotta have
that
balance. Yeah.
Yeah. Even my dad one time, he came to a show. He's like, I liked it. He's like, but I like your more upbeat stuff more, And I was like, all right, fine. I'll start making some more of that, So I kind of, depending on the show and maybe who I'm playing with or the venue, will kind of give me an idea of the songs that I want to play when I get up there. If I know I'm playing with a funky group, then I'm going to play funkier music. If I know that I'm going to be playing with a jazz group, I'm going to be playing more jazzy type stuff because I kind of have an idea for what the crowd's looking for. And having kind of traveled all around, you played at places. Are there any just memories that kind of stick out of funny experiences at venues or funny times on the road that you can think of?
Well, the only trying to think. As far as, I don't know if it's funny or not, but I had a venue that I used to play at in Fort Worth called 4-Star Coffee Bar. They're no longer in business. Anyway, it's a cool place to play, and you know how and this was when I first started out, so I was very naive. I thought everybody that came to the coffee bar was there to hear me. I didn't realize that people would just actually come to a coffee bar just to have coffee, to be on their laptop, or to have a conversation. So I had this couple just going at it, talking, and I'm getting frustrated, and I'm trying to outdo them, playing louder and louder. So after the set, my son, I was sitting there, and I said, man, God, I can't believe those people. God, they were so rude. How could they been? And his dad, they were talking about you and how much they were enjoying your music. And oh God, I felt so bad. So that taught me, don't compete. Just play your music. That's one of those moments, have fun.
Have
fun.
No, that cracks me up. That's a funny story. Dad, they were talking about you the whole time.
I know. I'm sitting there thinking, oh God, won't they shut up?
So do you? What is this? I guess, is this the second EP, or have you had other releases prior to this besides I Love the Night?
Well, of course, I had that one I told you about, Can't Stop the Rain. That was in 05. Then in 2011, I had On the Run.
Okay.
2013 was Faraway Girl. And then 2015, I Love the Night.
Very cool.
So like every couple of years, something comes out.
That's
I'm trying
awesome.
to speed that process up a little bit, but let's see how it goes.
Yeah, that's rude. So what keeps you going all these years? What's,
like I said, I just my son, my oldest, actually convinced me to play in public because I was terrified. I could when I was working, I could talk in front of 20 or 30 people and not get nervous, but singing, that's a whole different thing. And my first time to play was at what used to be called the Brick House, where Banter is, or 940 is now.
Yeah.
Anyway, I played there in 04, and I played 2 songs at their open mic. Terrified, and then my son had a little thing called Brian Gilbert and Friends at Art 6, the old Art 6 over there where Killer Tacos is.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so he asked me to come out, and I played there, and people clapped after a song, and I thought, Ryan, did you put these people up to that? And I seriously asked him that after the gig. I said, you didn't tell them to. No, Dad. So I just kind of thought, why not? Just keep doing it. And I played at different places, Dumb Brothers in Fort Worth, and Dumb Brothers in, I don't know if it's Carrollton, I think, off Beltline. Different places around Dallas, Mocha Coffee, different coffee shops around Dallas, Fort Worth. Very cool. And just kept doing it, and it takes a while for the recognition to come, where people go, oh. And I was thankful enough last year to get nominated for Best Solo Act at the Denton Area Music Awards. Yeah. And did I say Denton Arts Music Awards? Sorry, y'all. Anyway, they're probably going, yeah. But so I was lucky enough to get that nomination last year, and it's just kind of it's nice to get the recognition that you feel like, not that you necessarily deserve, but you feel like you've been putting all this effort and all this work into it, and then people are finally going, oh, okay, yeah, we like your music, or we've listened to your music, or we know who you are, or whatever.
Yeah, I could admit it straight up. as a musician, we like to be humble and everything, but inside, when you tell us you like our music, we're
yes.
That's,
there's not Now I may be wrong, but I don't think there's an artist out there that doesn't have a little bit of an ego. You got to just to get up on stage and do it.
To just get on stage, you've got to have one.
But it's how you handle it. It's how you. It's how you. When you respect the people that are coming out there to see you play. You know, and I always say leave your ego outside when you're playing, to an extent. I mean, because you want to put on a good performance for people, but. I don't know. That's been my motto. Is just to kind of leave my ego outside and get there and do my job.
Come in with confidence. Don't be cocky.
Right.
Yeah.
Confidence.
That's
good
saying,
word.
I did practice.
Right.
I know what I'm doing. I'm here to play some good music. You know. I mean, there have been times where I'll go to play a gig, and I get there and the sound guy's not there yet, or the bartender doesn't even know my name, or didn't even know the show was going to happen that night, and I just try to keep all that negativity out there and keep all the positivity right here. And I've had gigs. I remember a guy walked up to me and he's like, "Hey man, all I got is $7." And I remember being like, "Man, $7? Like, no, just what?" But I wasn't, like you said, just be happy you're there.
Yeah.
But I was like, "Oh man, don't even worry about it." In my mind I was like, "Oh man, I just drove to Fort Worth. Like, this is a long drive, $7. What happened tonight?" Like, I saw people coming in. It is what it is. But I was never grumpy towards that guy whatsoever, that booking agent. And a couple weeks later, the guy hit me up and gave me a show, and I made like $75 in an hour. So just by, like you said, check your ego at the door and just be happy that you get to have these experiences. We all get a little sad when you.
You gotta just treat everybody like you would want to be treated, as far as the sound guy or sound person, the people that work there. Be respectful. I mean, that's one of the main things, because you definitely might want to get another gig there, and if you act like a jerk around these people, they're gonna remember that. And word spreads about how you are as a person when you play at a venue. They'll say, "Oh no, you don't want to book this guy because he's a prima donna, or he doesn't."
Yeah. I mean, I've sat and talked to Jake for a very long time about keeping gigs and getting gigs and how do you do this. And and one of the things that I've experienced the most is to just be nice to the staff when you're there.
Right.
Because if they like you, even if there's only 10 people in the venue, they're still like, this guy's a lot nicer than the last guy. Not only did he actually leave a $5 tip, he brought 7 people who left $5 tips, Yeah,
I mean, like I got this residency over here at Barley and Board every 4th Thursday.
Nice.
And the people there are just amazing. All the workers, all the bartenders, everybody, they're just super, super friendly. And probably one of the most enjoyable 2-hour gigs that I play.
Yeah, and you said that was every 4th Thursday of the month?
Every 4th,
so
like next Thursday I'll be playing.
Very cool.
There. Yeah.
Very cool. I mean, like at LSA, we've got the first Wednesday of every month to go up there and play some music, and everybody up there is always super nice and helpful and so friendly to all of us. And we're just happy to be on a rooftop playing. It's kind of like being at Barley with all that amazing stuff around you.
Yeah, I love it.
It's just such a good, it's a great vibe, as I would call it. It just fits that music real well. So that's awesome, man. And like you said, being nice to the staff and being friendly to everybody, that's a huge part of what's actually going to get you coming back in.
Right.
Like I said, I was talking to a young kid the other day, and I was like, man, nobody wants to help a jerk realize their dreams.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to.
That's true.
Nobody wants to hand somebody $5 who they don't like. I was like, that's in sales. That's music. That's just a part of life,
Yeah, and you especially got to treat the sound guy right.
Ooh, see,
you mess with the sound person, and you like. Real quick story. I won't tell the venue,
please.
And I won't tell who the sound person was. And I won't tell who the individual was. But I told these guys, I said, look, we're going to do a song swap. Whatever the sound person tells you to do it, because he's one of the best. And so one of the things was strumming our guitars really loud, And one of my friends he just kind of like barely strumming, and I'm going I just oh god, okay. So after we did the song swap, he goes, man, I could barely hear myself through the monitor. It was all muddy and everything. And I said, dude, I told you to do what he asked you to do, because if they want to make you sound good, they can make you sound amazing.
Yep.
If they want to tweak it because you're messing with them, and you're just being a jerk.
Yeah.
I mean, that's their, I'm not saying that sound people do that, but
they can.
They can if they want.
I've run some sound. Not that I've never destroyed anybody's set. I felt real bad one night. a kid showed up, and I won't give names because they didn't do anything wrong, but it was just like all of a sudden this whole, like, the kid's battery on his acoustic goes out on him, and he's like, oh, like, I mean, right when he's about to start, and he's looking at me like, what's going on? I'm like, and then there's this huge ringing buzz, like, coming from nowhere, and I literally mute the entire sound. I was like, guys, I don't know, like, it's got to be from an amp, and we finally figured everything out, but yeah, I mean, you be cool to the sound guys, you know. If I ever missed a sound guy, I'm sorry, but I love to get on the mic and be like, I've never sounded this good. Shout out to the sound guy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the guys over at Andy's, they've always made me sound good.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say, Andy's is one of the best.
Yeah.
Dan's, Jimmy over there, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I've only played over there one time, and I don't know if Jimmy's still running sound over there or not. When I was going over there, it was actually, I don't know if you were there for this. It was when they did a big cover of Radiohead. They did all this different Radiohead music. And that was the first time I ever got to play there. And I mean, basically what I did is I just said yes sir and no sir to Jimmy. He said, "Do you need this? No sir. Do you need this? Yes sir." Like, does it sound all good? Yes. I mean, yeah.
I mean, I played there a couple of times, and both times I played, you just like, wow, thanks, appreciate it so much.
Yeah, it's great. Like I said, you have those good experiences and not so good experiences, but you just got to take it all in stride, you know. So yeah, man. I mean, goodness, we kind of got off on a tangent there, but I enjoyed the conversation right there. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to come back to this. So we've got the EP coming out on Thursday, and we're going to have that at the Patterson Appleton Arts Center. That's a mouthful. It's going to be upstairs, which is cool. I actually got the pleasure of playing there 2 years ago for Octopia. That was a really cool space.
Yeah, I like playing there.
Yeah, I didn't play up top. I played at the bottom. I didn't even know there was like a place upstairs.
It's a dance studio. It's where they practice dance, but it works out really well for just really something small and intimate like that.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah.
That'll be great. And so if y'all are just tuning in right now, I'm sitting here with Richard Gilbert. We're talking about his EP release. It is called Daybreak, which is the title track from the album or the EP. Now, here's a question I have. What's the difference between an EP and an LP?
I looked that up once. EP is anything less, it's either 5 songs or anything less than 30 minutes.
Okay.
So this is 6 songs at about 24 minutes.
Okay.
So I can call it an EP.
All right, perfect. Because I'm going to put out an EP too, and I just made it to make sure.
I mean, I might not be like super right on that, but I checked it. I checked it on the internet, and if the internet has it on there, so it's got to be true.
Exactly. If the internet says it's real, then it's got to be. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to Quartz Griner. He commented earlier, said, "All right, Richard," and then Elizabeth Freeman saying, "What's up? Happy to have y'all with us tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, y'all are watching Sound Values. I am here with Richard Gilbert now." The next question that I have, Richard, because we kind of talked about this earlier, we've been speaking on the EP. You've been playing music for a while now, and so if you had to give, like I said, for some reason, people have been asking me for advice. If you had to kind of give some advice on how people who maybe just haven't really ever gotten out there and played music, kind of like you're like, I was terrified of getting out there and singing in front of people. What's some of the advice that you would give to kind of give the people that kind of like, all right, I'm the courage to go out there and do it?
I definitely do the open mics. I mean, you gotta. The open mics are good because nobody's gonna boo you off the stage. It's all support. It's like a support group.
Yep.
I mean, you can play in front of your friends and your family, and they're all gonna love you. But at the open mics, you're also gonna have people walk up to you and say, "Hey, I really like that music," and be honest about it. And if you're gonna be booking gigs, have a format for emails. Have who you are, what dates you're looking for specifically, because that's one of the things venues want to know. They don't. If you just say, "Hey, I want to play a gig at your place," well, when do you want to play it?
Yeah.
What's your genre of music, and show past shows that you played at, future shows that are coming up. Links to your websites, to your videos, to your music, just something for them to look at.
Yeah, pretty streamlined.
Yeah,
Okay.
just have it all compact, and that way all you really have to do is copy and paste and throw it in there and just change maybe the heading, say, "Hey, I'm coming to Colorado, and I want to play at your venue. I'm already booked for these dates. Is this date open?" Something like that.
Cool. Awesome. I might have asked that for myself as well, since I'm trying to put stuff together. I was like,
it helps. I mean,
what kind of information
it
can
helps.
I get
I
out
mean,
of this?
I was told this by someone else. I didn't just think of this on my own, but it does help you because they don't have to sit there and ask you 100 questions. They've got everything.
Yeah.
So then all they have to do is say, yeah, this date's open or not, or not respond or not. It's up to them, of course.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I usually get the just not responding.
Yeah.
You know,
I've had
just
a lot
like
of those.
not at all. Yeah, well, that's great advice. You know, like I said, I've had a couple people just this week. I had 2 people who were like, "Hey, I'd like to sit down and talk to you and ask you some questions about how you did this, how you did this, how you did this." And Milla out there can attribute it's just hard work and keep going at it.
Right.
And even if, like, I had a guy, I used to be in sales, door to door. Like, it wasn't the worst job. The guys I worked for were nice, but it was hard because it was cold call sales, just walking into places and trying to sell stuff. But I remember this guy told me something I'll never forget. He goes, "Every no is just next." Like, that's what you hear. Anytime someone goes no, just go, "Okay, next."
Yeah.
You know, and don't take no to heart, because you'll go to 100 doors and you'll get 10 and you should get 10 yeses out of the 100.
Exactly.
That you go to.
That's actually one of my things that I look at. I mean, I don't. But first of all, it's the venue's right to tell you no.
Yeah.
So you can never get upset with the venue. You can't sit there and go, "Well, how come you don't let me play here?" Well, you know, you just don't work out for that venue.
Yeah.
So what do? Then you go look for another venue.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
You know, if you're going to sit there and basically whine about not getting to play at places, you're losing out on all the other places you might be playing at.
Yeah, and I've always used that, whether nobody's answered or like maybe a festival came up or something, and I've always just used it as like that motivation. Like, okay, cool, I'm just going to work that much harder.
Right.
That doesn't mean that these guys didn't do their job. Maybe I just didn't work hard enough.
Right.
You know, at least that's the way that I look at it, so that I hold myself accountable rather than trying to blame somebody else.
I mean, I've sent out 20 emails to New Mexico to get the 2 gigs that I've gotten so far. Yeah. And I'll turn around and I'll do follow-ups on most of the ones that I didn't get a response back on, and then I'll send out another 10 to some new places until I can fill those gaps up and make it work.
I had an experience, like you were saying, the emails. I asked a buddy of mine, and he plays what's called horror folk. So it's folk music with a very dark twist to it. And I was asking him, I was like, "Man, you've been getting shows all over the place. How are you doing this?" And he said, "I just send emails. I send emails. I send links with my link to my music, and sometimes I get booked, sometimes I don't." And so about a year ago, I just was like, "Okay, cool, I'll try that." And I emailed this guy, and goes by the name DJ Mikey Raj, plays at Deep Elm Art Company in Dallas all the time. And he said, "I don't have anything coming up yet, but if I find something, I'll let you know." 2 weeks later, this guy messaged me and said, "Hey, I've got a gig. You want to come out and play it?" And it got me another gig after that. You know, went down there, had fun with it. And here's an example of, you said just have fun. When I went there, he he was like, "Hey, I don't," because I think this guy paid out of his own pocket, which was awesome that he actually would just pay you to come play. And so he's like, "I don't have the money now, but I can book you for another gig and pay you then." And I was like, "Could I play that Wicket the Instigator after party, and we can just call it easy on the money tonight, and you can just pay me?" And he was like, "Yes, we can do that."
There you go.
And so I got to play after a big show where a lot more people were there, just because I was like, "Let's just call it even, man. And if I can play that show, that'd be awesome." And he was like, "Sounds good to me, man. I love it." So once again, just kind of another way of remaining humble and also kind of weaseling my way into a bigger
but
show.
You know, you've got to know what it's. I mean, the main thing is if you don't ask, you don't do it.
Yeah,
you know, if you can't, I mean, that's another thing is you gotta ask, you gotta test the waters and see.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's sometimes intimidating, because I'll ask to play shows that I get like really intimidated, thinking about the fact that I'm going to be playing this show and wondering, why did I ask? Because I mean, this is scary. There's going to be people out there actually listening to me. You know?
When I played with Boombox recently, 2 Thursdays ago, I was nervous as could be when I was up there, because I had never played at Harvest House before, and there were a lot of my family, friends, and more people were there. And I remember getting off work and like getting home and telling my girlfriend, I was like, "I'm gonna be very weird for about the next 2 hours. I apologize." I was like, "I'm gonna be all over the place when we get to the venue. I'm gonna be like sweating really weird." And she was like, "You're already weird, so it's okay." Cool. There won't be any difference here. And so the reason I kind of told that story is, how did you you said like, okay, you kind of do the open mics, or when was it when the first time you got on stage and you were like, I'm not really scared or not as nervous anymore to get up there and sing, where there was a bit of confidence?
I'm glad you said not as nervous, because I I'm not a big talker on stage. I'm like, play a song, thank you, play a song, thank you. And so my sets are like really quick. A lot of people will have little conversations with the audience, and that's one of the things I would seriously like to work on as an artist. But probably when I started doing the festival gigs like Thin Line, and I did something up in Tulsa, festival there, and at Backwoods Music Festival. When I started doing the festivals, and there comes a point where, and again, I'm not trying to I got an ego, but comes a point when you realize that you must be doing something okay.
Yeah.
Because people are booking you.
Yeah.
And people are asking you to play these plays. They're listening to your music, so they know how you sound.
Yeah.
So they know who you are. They see your face, so they see what you look like.
Yeah.
And if they're still going to take you and book you, then you're doing something okay. So there comes a point when that's when you have that confidence.
Yeah.
Up on stage. But I still have I still get nervous before every show because I want to do good. But that's the reason why I practice. Like for this EP release, I've been practicing every day for the last 2 weeks. You know,
Yeah.
and so that when I get up there, hopefully there'll be as few mess ups as possible, and the people that came to hear me play will enjoy the music. But I think it was just the fact that I just kind of finally came to the realization that. I mean, I know there's so many different musicians that I consider better than I am, you know, as far as especially playing guitar, vocally, whatever. But if you're doing your job and people are going, yeah, we want you to play here, or we want you to give you a residency at a place, then that's when you start getting that comfortable feeling about
you start to feel exactly, and that's the confidence that one starts to build, and that's when you start to feel comfortable with yourself,
right?
And then you can really kind of start to branch out and try different things, in a way, because these people have accepted your sound, and so you're like, okay, cool, well, let's see how they respond to this.
And that's with that new song that I just wrote. It's a whole different sound.
Okay.
And vocally you test the waters. You go from this level to hitting some higher notes or dragging out a note a little longer, whatever. You have to, and that's the confidence part of it. You start realizing, okay, I can try this out and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, everybody just kind of goes like that. You do it. Okay. I'll cut that one out of the song.
Yeah. I was actually watching a master class of one of my favorite producers, and it's not even of a genre. He just makes really good sounding music, and it's this guy named Armin van Buren, and he's talking about how when he lived in Holland, just like you said, when he was making electronic dance music, when he was like, I used to DJ in this terrible little club. He goes, I remember the first song I ever made. He goes, I went and I was so excited about it, and I took it to the club, and as soon as it came on, it was like the whole place just died. And he was like, and I just remember this guy being like, he's like, that's okay. He was like, it's okay. All that tells you is I need to go back and work a little bit harder.
Right.
And he's like, and he also says, he's like, I'm glad that happened in that small little basement of a club rather than on some big stage.
Right.
Because it taught me a lot with those 25 people there. I've had times where I've worked on songs before and I'll feel like they sound good and I've mastered them appropriately and all that, and then I'll take it to a place and I'm like, oh no, like I missed that. I don't know what happened right there, but that did not sound good. So luckily in my world of mixing, you can just turn a knob and it like fades the song out and you go into the next one real quick, you know. But you were also saying just the practice and the effort and the time that you put in. Once again, that's just like an extremely important thing. I think that sometimes a lot of us learn the harder way. Luckily, you're like, I need to prepare and I want this to be I want this to be right and I want this to sound good. Now, I did have a question actually. Going back a little bit further into our conversation, you mentioned a place called Art 6, which is now Killer's Tacos. I always knew that place as the White House as well as the coffee shop. Yeah. Man,
Yeah, Tommy and Olivia ran it as Art 6 back in 2004 2004 through 2000. Whenever White House took over,
Okay.
and it was just basically a coffee bar.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was working, I'd come home from work and I'd go there, grab me a latte, because not a whole lot of people were in there at that time of day, and stretch out on the couch or read the paper and drink my coffee, and then I'd go home and chill.
Yeah.
You know? But
So
again,
yeah. So
chill
over
twice.
over the years, have these places, even though they've changed names, I've only lived in Denton for about 4 years, almost 4 years now. So even though they've changed names and maybe owners, they've always kind of been the places to play music. Is that what we see?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think I played at when it was White House. They had the outside stage.
Yep.
And when it was Art 6, they mainly had the inside stage in the corner. And there you go,
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah.
But I have not played at Killer Tacos yet.
Okay.
I guess I have in a sense, because I
Yeah.
played at Art 6 in the same place. But yeah, I guess, and that's cool that they did that. It's cool that they were able to maintain some type of music, or I think they used to have a comedy thing at one of them, maybe.
Yep.
Something that some type of entertainment for people.
Talk about a scene that's really coming up is the comedy scene in Denton and North Texas right now. I mean, there are times when I remember I was just like, oh man, I'm not even gonna laugh tonight. I'm gonna go because I support these guys. But now I'm laughing. I mean, genuinely laughing. I'm telling these guys jokes at work and stuff the next day. You know, like, so it's great to see that coming up. So it's awesome to see like the music scene, the comedy scene, everybody just having a good time. And even now, like the music and the comedy are coming together and start playing shows at the same time, because it's just another way for us to all come together and be more of a community.
Right.
So if you had to give some advice, we're getting to our closing minutes here. Somebody comes to you and they say, Richard, I want to be a part of the music scene. I don't really know how, because I hear that a lot. Some people are like, oh, I want to be a part of the scene, but I'm not really sure what I can provide, like what I can give. What are some of like the steps or some of the advice that you would give of saying, here's what you can find to provide, to give back to a scene? You know, how do you search and find that as an individual who wants to feel artistic and be part of that, but doesn't really know what to do?
But well, I mean, I guess it depends on what part of the music scene they're interested. Like if they're doing what I'm just like solo singer-songwriter. So again, I'd go I'd direct them to the open mics in town and to start building their reputation around with the open mics. And as far as I mean, there's different ways I guess you can help. But as far as just like individuals that are there's always somebody wanting a bass player.
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
know,
Yeah, or a drummer.
and there are some good groups on Facebook for that. I can't think of them right offhand. I think Dallas has one called Gig Finder. There's another one for Denton musicians.
There's DFW Music Connect.
As far as locally go, I mean that's what I would recommend, that they touch base with those types of groups, because I mean I'm more, like I said, I'm kind of the loner type, where I just get up there and do my thing by myself, and probably the last person that you want to come up to and say, hey, how can I start a band? Because I'm going, and I don't really play in rhythm. I play just enough off rhythm that most drummers can't play drums with me. So that's why on I Love the Night I had Jesse Thompson doing upright bass. Had Michael Purser playing violin. So stringed instruments are good with me, but drummers are like I'm all over the place, because I'm not musically trained. I've always been by myself. I've always played by myself as far as guitar, and not necessarily saying that's a great thing.
I'm the same way.
But that's just how it worked out.
Yeah, exactly. I always found that I wasn't a good enough musician to play with other people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of my. I would definitely love to be a better guitarist. So I try to compensate with lyrics and vocals, mainly with lyrics. But I try to make the lyrics interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's like. I saw a thing, and we all know that Johnny Cash had a great voice, but Johnny Cash, I read this on Reddit today. I always surf the music page on Reddit to see what random stuff's out there. Johnny Cash, he took 2 voice lessons, and then his voice coach told him to never come back because his voice was like already so unique and different. Like you can say whatever you want with that voice, you're fine. You know, like right, whatever you feel like, that's not going to be a problem. Richard, it's been great having you in here, man.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Before we go though, so what time does the event start on Thursday?
8 o'clock till 9 o'clock.
All right.
So
yeah. So 8 to 9 p.m. at the Patterson. I always say Patterson. I'm sorry. The Patterson Appleton. Yeah, the Patterson Appleton. Yeah, the Patterson Appleton Arts Center. It's going to be upstairs. Is there a cover for the show?
No, free show.
So it's a free show.
It's also known as GDAC for people
that
don't call it Patterson Appleton.
Yeah.
The Greater Denton Arts.
Yeah, and so that EP release, that's Daybreak. That's awesome, man. Now, you said that you're going to be getting some reviews back from the UK and stuff.
I just recently got a review from I posted on my website from the UK, which I was very, very proud of and very happy.
That's awesome.
Humbled by these guys at a thing called Folk Words, and they do reviews on folk music, which I guess that's what I am. My genre,
It's the closest
thing that I can call myself, as far as the genre.
Yeah, and so where can we find the EP, and where can we find your music in general?
In general, you can find it, of course, on iTunes and cdbaby.com. The EP will be released on the 18th on those sites, both of those sites. Also, it'll be on Spotify to listen to, SoundCloud.
Awesome.
And I'll have it probably over at Mad World and probably over at Recycled.
Very cool.
For sale.
That's awesome, man. Very cool. Very cool. Well, Richard, I think this is the most I've written down in a long interview, man. These notes look crazy, but I promise they all connect in there eventually. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Richard Gilbert in the studio. I want to give a shout out to Cafe Solo Studios for tuning in tonight, Elizabeth Freeman, and of course the photographer, Quartz Griner. Thanks for tuning in, commenting, y'all, and watching. Y'all, make sure you tune in next week. I've got a good friend of mine, Jabari English. He also goes by Lil Dirt. He also works with Body English. He's going to be in the studio with us, so I'm excited to have him. Then after that, we got Sunbuzzed, and then onward into February. We are in 2018. Let's see, I think this is I think you're my 75th interview.
Wow.
Yeah, since we've been doing this. So I appreciate y'all sticking with me throughout all the year and a half that we've been doing this. Hopefully we can make it 2. That'll be cool. Richard, thank you again.
Thank you
so much for coming in.
Thank you.
I'm excited. I unfortunately will not be able to make it to the release party.
That's okay.
I will be working that night. So once again, y'all, we've got the EP release coming to you on Thursday. We've got it live at the Patterson Appleton Arts Center, Thursday, 8 p.m. Richard Gilbert Daybreak EP release. Y'all make sure to be there. Richard, once again, man, one more handshake.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here, buddy. You guys make sure you tune in next week right here on DentonRadio.com. We'll see you soon. Stick around for Ellie Bell and the Denton Vibe.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out DentonRadio.com for new Denton artists and where they're playing next. While you're surfing the internet, make sure you check out our friends Classic of Denton at ClassicOfDenton.com.